Hello and welcome to the Gleanings and Gatherings podcast. I'm your host, Eric Heinlich, and it's great to have you here with us today. I've been thinking about a lot of different things these past few weeks. Just celebrated our 23rd wedding anniversary. It's hard to believe. And with that, there's a lot of anniversaries that we're thinking through and remembering. You know, a lot has changed since we started out in an inner city park pavilion 25 years ago this summer. I was just a 19-year-old kid and I had a lot more energy than I had wisdom, but God surrounded me with a team that was filled with some very wise, capable people. And at the same time that all that was happening, God led my path together with Rochelle, a young lady that was from Southwest Missouri. She came to Union Bible College to study in 1996, the same year I did, and it was 23 years ago that we were married in a little church in Rogersville, Missouri. It's hard to believe, but it's already been 23 years. And this past weekend, we went and celebrated with a special trip to Niagara Falls, and it was just beautiful. It was a wonderful time, and it's made me stop and kind of go down memory lane a little bit. During the early days, as we were first getting started in ministry, God sent so many different supportive mentors who encouraged me. They spoke important truths into my life. There were people like V.O. Egan, who was an older, retired conference leader, pastor, evangelist, but he came as the president at the college where I was attending and became a real mentor to me and was a real friend. People like Rick Jones, who I did my internship with in inner city St. Louis while I was a student. People like Jeff Keaton. You know, I asked Jeff when he came as a speaker at a nearby church there when I was a student at Union Bible College, what is the most important thing you think I could do with the next few years of my life? And he said, Eric, I think the most significant thing you could do would be to plant a church that would love God and love people in the heart of the city. And when he said that to me, it was like God used that to just solidify that dream and that desire in my heart. And that's what we went and did. There's people like John Whiteman. John was the maintenance man at UBC, and he just became a dear friend and a co-worker. People like Rick Herring. Rick was a pastor at the home church, Jefferson Christian Church, where I grew up. And then later on, we worked together at Victory as he actually pastored the congregation first and helped him as he was getting started there as we were meeting in the park. And he was just a dear brother, friend, encourager, and helper all along the way. And then Brother Larry Greil. Larry Greil was the very first chairman of our ministry, but he was a teacher, a Bible teacher at Union Bible College, and really a friend to me. And those are just a few of the people that I've been thinking about, how God used their voices to guide me and to guard me against places that I could have gone off the path. And I am forever grateful for their input and their influence in my life. It was a couple weeks ago that we welcomed 43 youth along with a lot of different families to Victory Acres for the third annual Nehemiah Discipleship Program experience. And it was an intense time of work and training and discipleship. But one project that the teams worked together on was the project of blazing a trail. And it was alongside the creek. And future ministry guests will enjoy this trail immensely. Other teams worked on painting cabins and various agricultural tasks, but each afternoon, the participants also spent time working together along with a skilled mentor on various life skills training. And so everything from bread making and culinary arts to excavating and welding and logging and milling wood and childcare and evangelism and hand therapy and videography, those were our opportunities this year. And it was just an amazing thing to see the light bulb moments for more than one young person as they were working alongside of this mentor and began to see, wow, this is amazing. This is something that I could see myself doing. And our morning training times focused on mission and evangelism, and it emphasized our theme of ministry is life. And we are all ministers of God's reconciliation. And then each evening we had an inspiring message from Dr. Matt Hallam, and we gathered under the big tent, and his insights and winsome, caring heart were just such a blessing to all of us. And it was a blessing to have Matt and Dorcas with us. And then on Sunday, we had a time of celebration. It was Pentecost Sunday, and it was also the 5th anniversary of the very first time that the gathering at Victory Acres met. Our congregation at Victory Acres began meeting in the pavilion there at the farm 5 years ago, and it was the 5th anniversary of that. And how appropriate it was to have Matt Hallam, our very first pastor at the gathering, to share with us on that 5th anniversary Sunday. And it was also the final day of NDP, and we had about 100 people present. And it was just a huge blessing. We had a meal of chicken and noodles and mashed potatoes and green beans after the service. And then after that meal, we had our annual prayer walk of the farm. And we do this every year. We walk as a group to various areas on the farm, and it's normally an area where we've been working, and we share stories of God's provision and what he's doing, and just sharing kind of yay God moments, and praying God's blessing over our work and over the farm, and having various people pray for those things. And as we came to the end of the new trail that we had just blazed that week, I was reflecting that this trail is a little like ministry. I was sharing with the team, and I told them that, there are a lot of others who are going to come along later who will not know the blood, sweat, and tears that this crew put into making that trail happen. And others may come along later and they're going to add something or make it better, or they might criticize it. They won't know the challenges that you faced in getting to this point. And, why did they take the trail that way? Why didn't they go this direction? And after I finished sharing, Brother Joe Ryman, our first intern back in 2004, he's now a EFM missionary in Cincinnati. He prayed, and he kind of picked up on that theme in his prayer, and he said something that really stuck out to me. He said, God, help us to be grateful for those who have come before us and blazed trails for us in ministry. And may we not criticize them and say things like, I wonder why they left that stump there. But instead, let us be thankful that there is a trail. I was thinking about that later, and I truly am grateful. I am grateful that I stand on the shoulders of generations who faithfully followed God's plan, and I have a heritage to pass along to the next generation. And there is a trail because of them, because of those mentors in my life, because of other people who have been faithful, and even those that have been faithful in my own family. I think about George Heimlich, who was my great-grandfather and worked and lived in that place where we're now calling Victory Acres. But he worked there for over 50 years and cared for that place and was a part of the local congregation and made an impact that is eternal, and was a great man of God. Even though he was the son of an alcoholic, he was different because of God's grace. The stories that have been passed down to me and the heritage that's there's a trail because of men like my great-great-grandfather. And as I'm also going along this trail, I'm thinking about the goodbyes that will soon be said to Kaylin and Rebecca. They're headed off to college, and in less than 8 weeks, Rebecca will be at God's Bible School and college, and Kaylin will be back at Hope Sound Bible School and Hope Sound, Florida. And my father's heart is saddened by the end of another season of family togetherness, and I'm trying to squeeze every moment I can out of the time that we have left together. But I'm also encouraged by the way in which they are serving God and pursuing Him. And my hope is that watching how God has provided for our family over the past 20 years of full-time ministry will bolster their confidence, will encourage them to trust God in their future. And my prayer for our family is that those who come behind us on the trail would find us faithful. And so I'm just so thankful for our family, for ministry, for my wife, and we have appreciated all the folks that have partnered with us and just encouraged along the way in one way or another. And I just want to encourage you. I don't know what you might be going through, but thank God for the people that have come along on the trail before you, the people that have cut through the underbrush and have dealt with hard things, and on whose shoulders you stand now. Don't be ungrateful for those people. Tell them thank you. Reach out to them if you haven't recently, and let them know how much you appreciate the work that they have done that now makes the work that you are doing possible. And I also encourage you to, as you're walking this trail, to think about those that are coming along behind you. The choices that you make matter. The opportunities that you take to speak truth into others' lives matters. And you may not see that from where you're standing right now. You may think, it really doesn't matter whether I make that phone call or whether I, tell them that they matter to me. But it does matter. And you may have no idea how much it matters until you're looking back someday in eternity future and see the critical moment that God used you and used your influence to make a difference. Just yesterday, I had a challenging situation that I had to deal with. And many times as leaders, we are thrown into those places where we have to provide guidance to people. And we have to speak hard truths to them. And even though it may not always be easy, we can't necessarily just take the path of comfort or take the path that would say, oh, it's all nice, it's all fine. We have to sometimes care enough to actually provide correction. And that's what I was having to do in a particular situation yesterday. As I was thinking about it later, I would have gladly just been happy to go along the road and never say anything, humanly speaking. And yet I knew that in love, I had to provide that correction that was needed. And so I did. And so much of life in leadership it's those kind of moments when you're having to decide, am I going to wade in here and say what needs to be said, or am I going to punt? Am I going to just, let somebody else deal with it? And that's really where the battle is won or lost. It's not just in the upfront moments, but it's in those moments where, we see a situation that needs to be addressed. And are we going to care enough to speak the truth in love, and deal with it and provide leadership and direction? Or are we going to just kind of let people go and do whatever they're going to do and watch as things crash and burn later and think, well, kind of saw that one coming, but we didn't do anything. We didn't provide the direction that was needed. And so I just want to encourage you, especially if you're in leadership right now, to provide that encouragement, that word of truth, and to speak it. You never know what young 19-year-old college kid with more energy than wisdom, like I was 25 years ago, might be standing there, who might be that one that God will use to do some incredible things, but needs some leadership. He needs some guidance. I remember my friend, Dr. James Keaton. One time I had written something that was rather caustic, probably not the first time I had ever done something like that. But I remember him just responding very kindly to me in a brief written statement saying, "Brother, be careful of your tongue. You will draw more flies with honey than vinegar." That was it. That's all he said. But it's all he needed to say. He was right, and I needed to hear that. And I thank God for it. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. The kisses of an enemy are deceitful, but when people love you enough to tell you the truth and to put that out there, don't despise that. And if you are in a place of leadership, don't neglect that either. So those are just some things that I'm chewing on, thinking about today, and I hope that you're doing well. And from Gleanings and Gatherings, God bless.